Now it's time to welcome back executive producer Jeff Proctor once again this week to talk about the future of New Mexico in focus after losing our longtime host, Gene Grant. Jeff, good to be with you on camera.
It's good to be with you too, the first of many times us together, I would imagine.
Yeah, I hope so. Now, obviously, Gene's departure is a massive loss. We know that. He contributed so much to this station and to the larger New Mexico community during his 18 years on air, and really hasn't sunk in completely yet, has it?
I don't think so. I mean, Gene Grant has been part of the media landscape here since I was a baby journalist. I first met him when he was still writing a column at the Albuquerque Tribune. He later went on to write a column at the Albuquerque Journal when I was working there. And of course, I was a guest on this show and sometimes correspondent on this show for a long time before I came to work here. So Gene has been this sort of omnipresent guy in the mix in journalism here for a really long time, and it's going to be really difficult to imagine this show or kind of our profession, our industry in the state without him.
Yeah, you're right. And I know I've mentioned this on our podcast too, but I mean, every time I talk about NMPBS or bring it up, the first thing I hear is Gene Grant, Gene Grant, Gene Grant, and I know that's not going away anytime soon, and there's no replacing him. But for that reason, we're going to make some structural changes to how we present the show.
Yeah, so a little bit about that. The first thing I want to say is just to acknowledge what Gene did so well, right? He came from that talk radio tradition. He was so good at those kitchen table conversations. Let's get together and sort of sort out our differences. He was really good at getting somebody to help formulate an opinion out loud, and he really knew when to insert his own and when not to. That said, I'm not sure we could do what he did without him. So we've made a decision that we are going to formally end what we used to call The Line, which was the opinion panel that took place at this table with Gene hosting. So that will be one structural change. Of course, that doesn't mean that there won't be panel discussions, conversations around this table, but I think one of the things we really want to do and have already started to do is to have those conversations be a little less opinion focused and a little more focused around subject matter expertise. So I think that's one change that we've started to make that viewers can expect will continue.
Great, and I know we have some other new ideas and concepts that we're trying to roll out here. What else can viewers expect, at least in the short term?
In the short term, for sure, I think people are going to see a lot of faces. And I mean in the interviewer chair, right? And in the chair you're in now. I think that we'll spread the wealth and try to get a variety of voices in here in terms of the journalists who are producing the show that we make every week. So I think you'll probably see more one-on-one interviews, more one-on-two interviews, and probably some guest hosting, things like that, and definitely those roundtable conversations that viewers have come to expect from this show with just a little bit sharper focus.
And I know environmental journalism, obviously, it's a huge part of our coverage with Laura Paskus's great work over the last few years, and that's not going to change, is it?
The only way I think it's going to change is to continue to get better, right? Which is what Laura's journalism has always done. We've been friends and I've been a fan of her work for a long time. I just want to make this one sort of comment about Laura. Bill Graham, the concert promoter, used to say about the Grateful Dead, they are not the best at what they do, they're the only ones who do what they do. And as far as I'm concerned, that's Laura. There isn't another one of those in the country.
Yeah, and we saw that recently with her coverage of the fire in Albuquerque at that plastics facility. She was the first one on that. Source New Mexico obviously has done some good work since then. And we have an episode coming up next week, a special episode from Laura.
We do. So Laura has been really interested for a long time in a private company called Holtec's plans to basically dump nuclear waste into the ground in southeastern New Mexico. One of the big advocates in the state for that project, a guy named John Heaton, Laura's been trying to talk to him for a really long time. He agreed to a lengthy interview with her. The show will be sort of built around that with a number of other elements, and viewers can expect that to be the rock solid accountability and explanatory journalism that Laura's always presented.
Yeah, it really is an interesting interview, and like you said, no one else has spoken to this guy yet, so we're excited to see that. And we've obviously all gotten to know Laura and her work quite well over the last few years, but who else can viewers expect to see bringing in new stories to our air?
We'll definitely be leaning on the correspondents who have helped to make this show awesome through the years. That's going to include Antonia Gonzalez, Russell Contreras, and Gwyneth Doland. I also think you can expect to see some new faces. Since Gene's announcement, I've certainly had a lot of people express interest in coming in to help us, at least in the short term. We don't have a great picture of what that's going to look like yet, but again, I think folks can expect to see a lot of new faces on the show.
Community coverage, that's always been a mandate here at NMPBS, but we really want to make sure that this show feels like it's about and for all New Mexicans, to make everyone feel like their voices are being heard. How can we do that more effectively?
Well, that's an internal conversation. Obviously, you and I are talking about this kind of all the time. We're talking about that with other folks at the station. We're talking to our sources about that. We're talking to our friends about that. That said, I don't think we have the market cornered on how to effectively do that. So I'm going to ask that people who are watching this show help us with that. Give us a call, give us an email, come to the station, tell us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what you want this show to reflect. This is public broadcasting at the end of the day, right? It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the people who live in this state. So I'm hoping they can help us continue that real focus on the community.
The public broadcasting thing, that's something that Gene always said, and I know that he was really great with responding to viewers and viewers reaching out to him. He'd always talk about that. So yes, we definitely want to encourage everyone to do that, and to either Jeff or I reach out, tell us what's going on. We're happy to communicate with you guys and talk about that. And Jeff, thanks so much. Looking forward to the future.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Lou.